The term you should know, that's it. So, because many times after learning node and like other options, you cannot say that I haven't heard Ripple like option, but it is very simple thing actually. Ripple is nothing but, as a developer, we don't need much to concentrate, but as a learner and such basic terms you need to know. So actually, Ripple is nothing but Ripple stands for read, you can say eval, print, and loop. That is Ripple actually. So Node.js, because it is a server, what happens is it provides like it provides facility like reading, writing commands to control the server. Actually, these commands are like, just like if you know Unix and Linux shell commands are present, same like that. Like Linux and Unix shell commands, generally people use these commands actually. So that is, they run the commands and test the server. So due to that, these points are very much basically needed to understand how it works. Actually, read is nothing but read input from user. It reads input from the user. So you can simply say that it will read the input from user and stores in memory. Simple. And eval is nothing but it takes and evaluates the input value, evaluates the input value. It will take and evaluate the input value by using any expression, And print is nothing but, so it prints the result. It prints the result. Loop is nothing but it loops over the command until stopped. Actually, it is generally configured as batch, so operation actually. So these are basic commands. That means actually node related interactions, not only from direct server, we handle by using simple terminal also. That is the reason as a fresher, you need to know about these basic points. Already I told you in the classroom, I already announced we will have interviews for the people who submitted their resume for some mentors jobs, and very recently Tech Mahindra also is coming for campus level interviews, and a company called Nisam also, these companies are coming for web development people. They need large number of web development people. So we are conducting interviews and we are sending the qualified people to them. And I am not considering any one of these people who haven't done any tasks given in the classrooms. I will take only the resumes from the people who have submitted the tasks, whatever we given and whatever they have done, that we will take consideration, and for them only we are recommending. Tech Mahindra is coming in few weeks, 1-2 weeks. It will take. And you are good. They need to be good in the HTML, CSS, JavaScript. They are just asking for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, good people. So we will not send a bunch of people who don't do any practice, or they don't practically implement anything and do anything. So we will send only the resumes based on the. So we are not going to do that. So people who submitted the tasks till date, whatever the task, you get prepared for those interviews. We are going to send your resumes to those people. They will call you. Okay, right. And few mentors related, I will take the interview. People we need a company to work. To them, I will take and I will let you know. So I will make, okay. So frankly, I am not going to consider anybody's resume who haven't done any tasks, submitted any task. We are going to send into Tech Mahindra also only the people who have done the task and submitted, because I already told you that in the early first sessions itself, if you are not doing the tasks, you waste your time, right? That's it. So here, if for people, because we can't gain any confidence on you until or unless you do the task, submit the task and see. Okay, still, so after the first round, they are going to give you some more tasks to do, so that you need to do and submit to them, so that they can get more confident on you, so that they can call you for a Skype interview online. Okay, I will let you know about that. But these mentors related, so mostly by tomorrow or day after tomorrow, you will get. Is the reason for interview levels, some topics you need to know. In a development in reality, majority we don't use much, but interview level, some words you have to know. That's the reason some topics for interview level, people may ask, like, do you know REPL in Node.js? So then you cannot say I don't know. That's the reason, right? But our main work is on servers, working on servers. So here we have to handle the. So actually, you can simply say that REPL commands. So the REPL operations are similar to Unix or Linux shell program. They are similar to shell and commands, shell programming and shell commands actually. So you have to run and test from Node terminal, Node.js terminal. You need to just in the command prompt, you need to just type node. That's it. You just type node in the command prompt. It will start the node terminal. And there you can handle all the operations. You can manage all the operations. So that is the basic. And remember, these are not regularly required And so welcome to Node.js version, and the terminal it is showing. This is the Node terminal. Now in this terminal, you can run the commands. You can configure and define. Generally, to run the commands, that means here all are same. It is just like your debugger. You see in your browser, you have a console, same like that. In browser console, you can run the commands, same like that. So here you see, I am typing here clear. Clear is the clear, and see here we will first run these commands. So clear, you have to mention what to clear, right? Dot clear. So this is the command to clean up the buffer. Now, what you have to do, run the commands here. Suppose I said var x equal to 10, that is input. After that, some var y is equal to 20. That is also input, how you handle the input here. And var, so c is equal to x plus y. And we need to print, that means console.log is a function. And we have to define some statement here, c, whatever the value of c, and it will print that output. So it allows you to handle various operations. You can write multiple conditions, you can configure them. So you can write all your types of expressions and statements, and you can test them. So no need of worrying about this, just know about this, because sometimes when you are testing your node commands, you can test from here. That means, so you can test from the commands from here. So what are the commands to be tested? I will tell you. Actually, the commands we will learn in the server itself. We can test from the server itself. But still, this terminal helps you to handle when you are running from the command line. From the command line, you can run the commands, you can work with them. So this is called a REPL terminal. You can use all your statements, you can configure them. That means here you can write multi-line statements. For example, if I write like for, so where I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10. So I plus plus, so like this I return. And it will give you multi-line. You can see it gives you multi-line. So that means it is going to handle. So here I will say console.log, the value of I. We are printing, and the terminal. And it is going to print that. You can use all your statements here. You can run the commands, you can handle the statements. So just like JavaScript command prompt, this is available. And you just need to understand this. So you just need to understand this, because usually this is used in various occasions for testing our server-side commands, but not required. So you can do that from the server itself. I will show you. But these options are regularly used. How we can write the statements, how you configure the statements. That's the reason many times in interview level, people ask like, so do you know what is node REPL? Of course. So we don't much need to worry about the node REPL. But better we should know about it, because certain commands we need to execute from there, right? And to close this terminal, you have to press Control C. You have to press Control C. So again, Control C 2 times, then it is terminated. So again, if you want to start, you need to just type node and it will start the node terminal. You can test your commands in this terminal. So developers use this terminal to test the command before going to execute them on the servers. For that reason, this terminal is provided. That is what people call as node REPL commands. So once the terminal is opened, so you can use your commands in this way. So you can use the commands in this way. Just I pasted those list of commands, how it works, right? How it works. The terminal, how it is going to manage. And actually, you can even use this with the help of server programs also. But just you need to know how to handle this. So press Ctrl+C twice to terminate. That's it. So nothing much to concentrate on this part. But having an idea about that is good. You have to know about it. So you cannot say that I don't know REPL. So that's the reason you should know about that. What is REPL and how to work with that. Next, after understanding about undefined, because actually why it is returning undefined, because in the command line we say var x equal to 10. Here we are writing. It is showing undefined because that is just only because it is not allowing more than one line. That means it says that I don't think your work is finished. It says that is it finished or continued? Actually, it is continued. In the memory, that x is stored as 10. So you don't need to worry about this, right? So it is not finished. Why it is returning undefined? Because the work is not finished, but it is still in the memory. Due to that, it will simply, because see, when you write var y equal to 20 and console.log, so see, so here I say some z is equal to x plus y, and console.log is equal to some z, whatever the value is there. It will print now. For every line, it says that I finished it and there is nothing to define again. So you can write all in single line to avoid that. Finally, your result will come, but finally at the end, undefined will come. Because that is just to indicate that the options that you configured so are not complete. They are incomplete. They are still in the memory. They will be gone until you clear. That means we have to use the command .clear. Then they are removed from that. The values are removed. Then you type here. So again, console. Now you will not see any undefined. Because these are all not the reserved commands. These are just variable references. You don't need to worry about that undefined word there. That is just terminal. That is done in your console also. You see, you can see in your browsers, in the browser also. So we have browser debugger. We have a browser debugger. We have a console. In the browser, we have a console. Now, when you go to this console, in the console also, suppose I said x equal to, so var x equal to 10, undefined will come. At command line, that is very common thing because line is terminated and the previous options are still in the memory. And it says that it is incomplete and it is not defined. Of course, we know that it is complete and not defined. That will come everywhere. So this is basically REPL commands. We call them as REPL commands. How we can work with the REPL. Right. Next, after understanding, the REPL commands. So you need to know about another important in the Node.js, that is Node.js global objects. Node.js global objects. These are very important to handle several interactions. Actually, by default, Node.js library provides a set of objects, same like your browser objects. In a HTML DOM manipulations, you have browser objects. In JavaScript, you have seen them. Window object, history object, navigator object, location object, all these are browser objects. Similarly, when you are working on server, some important objects are required. And those objects are responsible for handling various types of interactions. So we call them as global objects. So global objects. The purpose of global objects, they are responsible for handling various interactions like accessing the file name, accessing the directory name, knowing about the process, knowing about the memory. All such things are managed by using them. So we have to know about these global objects and work with these global objects. So what are the global objects? How these global objects are used? Let's see. So here, same like JavaScript browser objects. So you have a node global objects. And these global objects provide certain properties and methods which are used for knowing the information about your current process, knowing the information about your current file system in a server. Especially while working with the server, you need to know about that. So for that, we need global objects. What are those? Let's see. Let's go to the project. Yeah. And here we will create a simple program. Initially, these are just server related options we have configured. So server, what data it is presenting and what related option. I will create a simple program now. So go to server and add a new program, demo.js. And here, by default, Node provides certain objects. We can use them. So suppose I said console.log. And the browser objects, like the global objects, like you have underscore dir name, underscore dir name. It is a browser object. It is used to return. It is used to return the file name, directory names. They are going to handle the directory file names and configure them. Actually, to understand these browser objects, so you have to configure the server and access the details from the server, because when you are sending some response to the client, you have to know which file, what is the file path, what is the file name, all these things. You can simply use this command. And let's run this and see. I will open this. You can run in terminal just for your understanding sake. I will open in a command prompt. And here, node demo.js. It will get the path and display. Actually, see, this is the path where currently our resources are present. So here I just printed it. Suppose I am trying like this. directory name. So here I am writing like this: current working directory, and I am printing underscore dir name. It is going to return the current working directory. So when we run that, it is going to return the current working directory. Current working directory is this. That means actually, technically, when you are creating the server and configuring, you see here, this is the server. In demo also, I will write the same program. Let's write the same program similar to that. First, in order to use the server, so in order to work with the server, we have to import var http is equal to require http. Okay. And http var server is equal to http.create server. So a callback function, and we have a request and a response object. So here we are writing response.write. So response.write. So in that we are defining, response.write. Here we are printing, so underscore dir name, directory name. Actually, this is the current working directory. I am printing the sample statement here. So let's keep an expression like, and here physical path, and I want to access that physical path. So underscore dir name, it is going to access the physical path. Okay, then server.listen on 8080 port number, console.log, server started. Just message I am giving, server started. Let's run this. So node demo.js, server started. Okay, let's go to the browser, http://127.0.0.1:8080. It will get that, and it should display the result. So it is going to access and display. So the point here is, what is the purpose of this command? It is taking some time. It is taking some time, let it be. Okay, what is the purpose of that command actually? The purpose of that command is, it is going to get the physical path of your current working location. That means generally, so server have two paths. If you remembered in the introduction, I told you. So here I will give you that point. Global object provides set of properties and methods that are used to control server side actions. In that, so many global objects are present. So one important, the global object. So this is dir name, underscore dir name. So what is the purpose of this underscore dir name is, actually it returns the physical path. So it returns the physical path of current working directory. physical path of current working direct or current working location. You know already every website comprises of two paths. One is virtual path, another one is physical path. In the introduction, I told you that virtual path and physical path. Actually, virtual path http://localhost site name, and here you will have page.html like this. But physical path will be some C:/ website / page.html. That is the physical path. You know already. In the introduction, we discussed about that. So in the introduction, we discussed about that every website have the virtual and physical path. And to get the physical path as a developer, from which location that is working, so we need to use this dir name to get the directory name. So technically, you can directly run that and display. So, or you can test on the server. Example, this is just to understand. So how it works. That means how we can access and return the physical path. You can directly test without writing the server every time. You can directly test these objects like this. That means you can simply write without no need of server every time. You just need to console.log. You can test them. Later, how they can work in our server also, I will show you. Because we don't have any HTML pages currently, directly you can run this. And you see, I said node demo.js. It will get the physical path, which physical path it is. Now, similarly, another important is we have underscore file name. Underscore file name. It returns the file path. It returns the file path. That means currently which program you are compiling and running. So which file you are accessing, it returns that particular file path. So in the global objects, so dir name will return the directory and file path will return the file. So that means, so if you are configuring here underscore file name, and this is going to return the file path. That means including which file you are using. Later on server, it will return the HTML file, which file you are accessing. So in the beginning, when we saw about websites and web server in the introduction, I showed you these 2 points correctly. Website will ask you virtual path and physical path. Physical path is our project location, and we can't give physical path to client. We need to access through the virtual path. As a developer, we need the physical path because we need to know which file is provided, which file contains the resources and everything. But this physical path need not to be known to the client. He will access our files by using the virtual paths. So to return the file path, so you can use this. So syntactically, so console.log, simple console.log, you can use underscore file name. It returns the file path. Similarly, you have another important, that is process. We have process. Actually, process, it provides information about the thread running in the process. I told you that our Node.js is a single threaded environment. Node.js is single threaded. Node.js is single threaded. So all tasks are performed. All tasks are performed in single thread. Single thread. That already I explained. All tasks are performed in a single thread. So the point is, in that case, it's very important that we need to understand what task is running, and we need to know about the task. What task is running? We need to know about the task. So then we have to use this process. So actually, the purpose of process. So process is an object, and this process object gets the information about the task being performed inside the memory, which inside the memory that you can manage by using this process. So usually it is going to get the information about the process. And that means process object can get information about the task performed in process. That is what it can do. So generally, if I configure here simple in that object, so let's use, here we have underscore. Here we have process. Directly we can get the process. So when I run this process, you write that process here. So process here. And you can see it gets the information about the current process and display. You see all that information. It have a lot of details. That means actually process is an object which comprises of lot of details. You see, these are all the details of the process. So many details are there about the process. That means developer need to know everything about the current process. Actually, lot of properties are there. You already know the logic. If I want to know only properties, you can write for var property in process. So, and I am printing the property. So I am printing the property console.log. I am printing the property. So that means every property information is printed here. So then you can see node demo.js. It will print all the property names. These are all the properties of the current process. You see, all these are the property names. This process object provides a lot of information. That means which platform you are using, which version you are using. It will also get the information about, see, these are all process details. And it will also get the information about how the titles, how the process IDs are there and configured. Now what we have to do is, we need to use this information to understand which task is performed in the server side. So which version is running in the server side, which platform is used. Based on that, we can handle the communication. Now we are going to see how to communicate with server side databases and all. Then what is the point is, lot of issues will come. From which platform you are trying to access, in which platform the backend is installed. All these things you have to know as a developer. This object is going to get all the information about the current process. That means you can access these details and use those details. Individually, you can access the details and use the details. So that means, for example, suppose I'm using, that's all the properties. So I'm using like this terminal. So I'm just running like this. I will say process console.log. console.log. So process.title. We are just printing that property, title property. So this process.title, it will get the title of the current process. Current process is this running this file. That means it is in the command prompt. In the command prompt, that is command.exe. Node is running the file called demo.js. That is the current process title. It will get the title of the current process. Which process currently it is running? It will get that information. You can know all the properties. You can know all the properties by using process object. So we can just write a loop. It will get all the properties. And we can use those properties and configure them. So this is important, how we can handle and work with that. So this is one process object which is regularly required for our server-side programming. File name, directory name, process. These are the three major built-in objects. Several objects are there in the early versions which are legacy, old, no more used actually. So that's the reason we don't need to consider about them. So usually these are enough. So example here, console.log process.title. It will get the title of current process. And if you want to know all the process details, so then you can write a simple loop, general JavaScript. So you can write a loop where property in process, and you can just print all the property names, and individually you can check every property and get the details. Console.log property. It will get all the properties in the process. So this is very much required at high level to know every information about the current process. That is actually defined by using the process. Right. So in the objects, in these objects, these are all considered as global objects. So in the global objects, so we also have the options like buffer. Actually, buffer provides information. So it provides information about the memory on server. It provides the information about the memory on server. So that means the memory allocated, the memory available. So such things available, and so memory required to run the process, all such things are handled by this buffer object. Before running any task as a developer, you need to know whether this task can be performed or not by knowing about the memory. So first we need to check the memory and give the task. For example, here again, suppose I say buffer. I am just writing buffer. So it is also a simple object. So this buffer object is not directly available. So that means it says that buffer is not directly defined. Why? Because the buffer object have a simple option like the properties. I will give you the property. That means actually we are currently dealing with the version 16 and 14 and higher version. So in this buffer object is transformed into the options like C. I will show you one point. This is working fine. Yeah. So it is showing this buffer capitalization issue, right? And some options are removed, so we will not discuss about them. You see here, this will return the buffer pool size, how much. And you see there are from all, these are functions. We use the callback functions for handling. There is a property, so byte length, that means it will get how much space is allocated. Is buffer is a function. You see, these are all the types. These are all the types. These are the properties, and these are all the types. So this compare is used for verifying whether the memory allocated and the memory available are same or not. Means available or not. For example, you see buffer dot, I said byte length. So we are just using buffer dot byte length property. It will get that byte length function. So this is a function. You can individually define them. So this is function. That means actually it uses a callback mechanism. For example, that callback mechanism is going to return all the information. So it requires a callback technique. In this callback technique, it needs to access the information about memory available and memory required. And we need to display the message that for this process, this much memory is required. So these all I will show you how to implement once we start designing the application environment. First, we are knowing about those objects. Then we will implement them in various communications. So to know what is it and what it contains, you can just write a for where property in buffer. And in buffer, what are the properties? Console.log, print that property. It will first give you all the information about the property, whatever the properties are there. You can use these properties. If I want to know the type of property, then obviously you know the technique. So I can print here like, so plus, so the type. So we can just use type of property. So we can print the type of every property so that we can understand what the property type is. Then it will get all the property types and it will display. But actually they are functions that return a string. Pool size how much, from how much, of how much, allocated how much, allocated unsafe memory how much. So all such things are defined in a string format. They are functions that return a string. They are functions that return a string. So we will see how to implement them and use them. Usually this is a simple syntax to understand the buffer related details, just a syntax. We will put them in server programming now. So first you have to understand the server objects. So we call these objects as global objects. So Node.js global objects are responsible for providing various classes. These classes can handle various details. So we can know about those details, we can access the details and use them. And some methods are provided by this, which we already know. Like global objects provide the methods like set interval. No need to explain, you know that. It will provide like clear interval. So you know why they are used. In server-side programming, we use set timeout and clear timeout. Because in JavaScript already we learned them. No need to explain what they are. They are used in the same way. Suppose I want to perform specific functionality at regular intervals. Then you need this. For example, you see servers, how people test the server. For example, I already told you, open here. This is our run, Windows run. I need to test whether particular server is responding or not. Then I have to write, we need to write ping, PING -T 127.0.0.1. That is the IP address of that server. Generally, we do this to test whether the server is responding or not. You see, for every few seconds that it is testing. Now, how this type of tasks are performed actually? How these types of tasks performed every second, how it is executing that task. That is not a complicated thing. That is done by using interval, right? We have set timeout, set interval, clear timeout, clear interval. These are the tasks that are performed. These are the tasks that are performed. So usually we use these tasks, we manage these tasks, and we have to know about these tasks. So what we can do here is a simple technique you already know. For example, okay, and this print message is printing a message .log. So response from reply from something, some reply from success. This message we are giving. Now, how we can execute the task? You know already how we execute that. We have to just use, and we need to configure the interval functions. That means what we have to do. So we have to define the timeout. So configure. So we use set interval. Set interval, what is the function? So print message at regular some 1000, that means every few seconds, every 1000 milliseconds, it is going to perform the task. You know this. Generally, these type of batch operations are performed. But here, see, when I run this, it is printing a reply from server and it is displaying it. Such batch operations we have to do, especially while running on server, because when client makes a request, so we need to send a response saying that, okay, your request is good. I am responding to your request. All such things need to be done. Control C to terminate, you know that. So these type of intervals, timeout options. What is timeout? What is interval difference? You know already. These types of tasks are performed regularly because we need to understand actually, so how it is going to manage, the performance. That means, is it responding? Every 5 seconds you test. And if it is not responding every 5 seconds, then some performance issues are there. Such basic things we need to do. And for that, we can use all these timer related options also. So these all also comes under the category of global objects. This is just an example like that. Actually, we can get the URL IP address and we can print saying that reply successful from that particular URL. So usually when you are configuring the side programs, then you need to make use of these global objects. So working with these global objects. Why? Because the global objects are very much required, especially to know the process happen, and especially to know about the task being performed in the threads. And not only that, so it is also providing certain threads which are used for performing batch operations at regular time intervals. how the operations can be performed, right? So these are the basic points you need to understand. And I don't need to tell you what is interval, timeout, and all. Already you know them, right? So how we can configure the interactions and manage the interactions? Actually, process and these global objects are used in several ways. They are used in several ways. We have to write proper programs for configuring and handling them. That means actually at a very high level, we use this to understand whether the request made successfully or not, whether the process started or not, whether the process ended or not. All such things we need to know. And for that, we need to write such programs and configure them. So generally, I will show you a simple approach here. So we are writing a program here. Yeah. So suppose here I am writing. We have a process. Process is a global object. Process have on method. This on method indicates on which interaction you want to manage. For example, on exit, we have a function. It uses a callback function. This callback function will get the code. It will use a code block to execute what you want to execute in that particular process. You need to configure that. We can keep that at regular time intervals. We can configure at regular time intervals, and we can define. That means generally, so we are using the function like set timeout, and we use a callback function and a console.log. And actually, this is the task to terminate. That means just I want to terminate the task. If you want the task not to execute, then you can put it 0. That means this task is not going to execute. And some task you want to perform, console.log. So how you can perform the task, you can define. For example, see, I will write here some code is how much. Whatever the code is there, you can access the code and we can use it. And we are writing here, so console.log program and. Actually, such programs are written to identify. So if I compile this now, so node demo.js, such programs are written to understand whether the process started or not. For example, now suppose this is having 1000 milliseconds. That means this task is started. When I run this, so at 1000 milliseconds, the task need to execute. So, but it is not showing that. So because this task will be terminated. So because you written on exit. So this is little bit confusion for you because you haven't learned any process, how it exits, how it enters into process, how it comes out of the process. Little bit confusion. That's the reason I'm not going into that programming concept until or unless you start working with the server now. Okay. So these are not required for you. Later you will understand. Because generally these objects may look simple, but they have a lot of work in the background to handle various functionalities. So server side, we need to know about these global objects, how to work with them and how to deal with them. So in Node.js, so you need to understand how to handle these global objects. Another important, in Node.js, so we need to understand about an OS object. Because especially when you are working with server, so you need to handle the OS object also. The purpose of OS object is nothing but operating system related functionalities are managed here. because you are saying that Node.js is going to manage a server, and servers so need to be very friendly with the operating system. You need to know so which platform it is using, which architecture it is using, how much speed server is there, because your websites are going to run on server. When your websites are going to run on server, so then you have to know the capacity of the server. We need to tell that information. In cloud-based environments, these days what happens is, in cloud-based environments, so people give you all that information because you have to purchase server on cloud. When you purchase server on cloud, then it will show you that the server capacity is this, its CPU capacity is this. Such information we have to provide to client. Your platform is this, because actually suppose we have Firebase. Firebase, this is a cloud server. I will show you this Firebase. I will show you how we can host our application on cloud servers. I will tell you a basic thing. Actually, if you, in this cloud server, some projects are running, and it will give you all the information. You can see downloads, how much happened, when the project is deployed. So, and it will give you all the information about hosting. That means it will get the information about hosting. So it will show you the hosting status, when it is deployed, when it is hosted, where it is hosted. So it will give a lot of information to you. So that means about the server, they have to provide information to you. So this information is actually accessed through the server objects and managed. But server global objects cannot access information about your operating system where your server is running. That is the reason to handle the server related operating system and manage and work with that, you have a separate object called OS object. What is the purpose of OS object is? OS object is responsible for getting the information about the operating system where the server is running. Because when anybody hosts applications on server, so then we need to provide complete information about what's the platform, what is the memory available and all such things, what is the architecture, everything. So Node.js OS objects so need to be configured and installed. For that, you have to install OS library. You have to install. That means actually OS module provides information about the server operating system and its architecture. So this includes so many things. So it includes CPU architecture, it includes CPU architecture, it includes the server name or IP address from where it is being accessed, where it is running. So it indicates the uptime of server, such details you can access. But for that, you have to install this module. So this requires a special OS module. So you have to install Node.js OS module. So what you have to do is, in your project, so you have to run the command npm install OS. You have to install this OS module. You need to configure and install this OS module. After installing the OS module, you can import this OS module and you can use. So just what you have to do is, after importing, so you can use it. So var OS is equal to require, and require OS. Now this provides a lot of options. You can understand, you can get, for example, I am using, so console.log. This OS provides a lot of things. Like I said, arc, it will get the architecture of CPU. It will get the architecture of CPU architecture. That means I said demo, so node demo.js. It will get the CPU architecture. And you see arc is a function. So that means I will just call it as a function. I will call it as a function. It is going to return some string details. You see, it shows the architecture that is actually bit size. What is the bit size? All that means 64-bit, 32-bit bit sizes will be there. Suppose I have used here, so the details like CPU. So CPUS, yes. This CPUS is going to get the information about CPU, information about the CPU. That means it gets the information about CPU. So the model is Intel Core. So what is the speed? What are the times? What is the user? All such information about the server are accessed here. So that means, so it is core. So what's the ID? What is the speed? Information about your CPU. That means generally when you are hosting applications on a server, it's very important to understand the physical details. You can use platform. Actually, this platform, so that is the Node.js platform. So it is going to get the information, Windows 32, which platform it is running. All such details you can access and configure. So by using this object, this is generally the browser objects, and actually these are server objects and platform OS related objects, global objects and OS object. We can get all the details by using simple methods. So syntactically very simple. So console dot, here I am printing on console. Generally we can send anywhere in the web-based module. In the web-based module we are going to do now. So here you say, first you have to install. I will keep that clearly. So npm install OS. Yes, and here we are configuring simple program where OS is equal to require OS, and you can just print here console.log. You can use os.arc architecture. So you can use console.log os.cpus. Yeah, CPU structure details. So like console.log os.platform. All such information you can access related to server. This is all the OS object of Node.js. So once you are aware of how we can deal with these objects, means how the general global objects work and how these OS objects are used. Now we need to design a web application architecture, and we need to see how Node.js handles communication with the backend database, get the data from the database and interacts with the data. So before going into how it works with the database, now we need to understand some more options, like how Node.js is going to handle asynchronous requests. Because in order to communicate with the database and all, we need to know about Node.js. So async techniques. That means how it is going to manage the task asynchronously. Because now we are going to communicate with the database, get the data from database and access and use it. You need to know how asynchronous techniques will work. So how Node.js asynchronous techniques are used to run the task simultaneously at the same time, multiple tasks at the same time. That we will see in the next level. Okay, tomorrow we will discuss about that. In tomorrow's session, we will see how we can handle the asynchronous requests, working with asynchronous requests in Node.js, then communication with the database. Okay, right.